Tonight, let's settle in with one of the shortest, most devastating stories ever written. 112 pages. One unforgettable punch. Don't worry if you drift off. That's actually fine. The story will be here, and so will I. No quiz at the end. Maybe today you felt overlooked. Like the rules applied to you but not to everyone. Like the work you did just disappeared. That feeling has a name. And tonight's story knows it better than almost anything else ever written. You're in good company. Animal Farm by George Orwell is a fable. Short, clear, almost childlike in its form. And absolutely devastating in what it says about power. Manor Farm, England. A drunk farmer named Jones and the animals who do all his work for him. That's where we begin. One night, old Major the prize boar calls every animal to the barn. He has something to tell them. Something he dreamed. He says, "I do not think, comrades, that I shall be with you for many months longer." He is very old. He has a dream. Man is the enemy, old Major says. Man takes the eggs, takes the milk, takes the work, and gives back nothing. Nothing at all. Here's where it gets interesting. Old Major describes a world where animals own the farm, where they work for themselves. He teaches them a song his mother sang, Beasts of England, a vision of the golden future, when man is overthrown at last. The singing wakes Jones. He fires a shotgun into the dark, thinking foxes. The animals scatter back to their stalls, the dream still humming. 3 nights later, old Major dies quietly in his sleep. But the dream doesn't die with him. It spreads instead. 3 young pigs step forward. Snowball, quick, brilliant, enthusiastic. Napoleon, large, fierce, and very, very quiet. And Squealer, who can make the worse seem the better reason. They develop old Major's dream into a philosophy. They call it animalism. And they paint its laws on the barn wall. 7 of them. This is the part most people miss. The rebellion doesn't happen because they planned it. It happens because Jones stops caring. Jones has not fed them for a full day. One of the cows breaks down the store shed door. And that's it. Before the rebellion really kicks off, I want to pause and say something to you directly. Just for a moment. You and me. If this is a good way to end your night, we do this every week. A new classic, told gently. A subscribe and bell means you'll always find us. Thank you, truly. Now back to Manor Farm. Back to the animals who are very, very hungry and have just broken down a door. Jones grabs his whip and rushes out. His men come too. But something has changed. The animals don't run this time. Within minutes, it's over. Jones and his men are running down the road. The gate slams behind them. The animals stand and stare. The first morning of freedom. They walk every inch of their farm. And see it, maybe for the first time, as theirs. They go into the farmhouse. Peer at the beds, the china, the engravings. Then resolve no animal will ever live here. It will be a museum. The 7 commandments go up on the barn wall. They look magnificent. They feel like a promise the world is finally making good on. The harvest. They bring it in faster and better than Jones ever did. Every animal works. Even the cat, for most of it. Already, if you watch carefully, 2 pigs are moving differently. Snowball plans. Napoleon watches Snowball plan, and says almost nothing. The cows give 5 buckets of milk. The animals look at it. Then the pigs say they'll look after it. And the next day it's gone. Squealer explains it perfectly. Milk and apples contain substances vital for pigs' brain work. Would they really want Jones to come back? And the animals accept it. Of course they do. Surely none of them want Jones to come back. That is the door, and it just opened. Boxer. Let's talk about Boxer. He is the biggest, strongest animal on the farm. And also the most heartbreaking. He has 2 mottos. I will work harder. And Napoleon is always right. He says both with total sincerity. That's what makes it hurt. Clover. The stout motherly mare. She doesn't make speeches. She just watches. And remembers. And loves in the quiet way that costs the most. Benjamin the donkey. He is the oldest, the wisest, and the most deliberately useless. He knows everything. He says almost nothing. Molly. She asks 3 questions at the first meeting. Will there be sugar? Can she keep her ribbons? She already knows she's leaving. In this way, autumn arrives. The farm produces its first successful harvest under animal management. It is genuinely impressive. News spreads. The neighboring farmers, Frederick and Pilkington, are worried. Their own animals are getting ideas. Awkward conversations in pubs. Snowball is everywhere. Literacy classes, animal committees. A plan for a windmill that would give them electricity. He never stops moving. Napoleon doesn't attend most of the committees. He has a different project. Quietly, he takes charge of the education of the youngest animals. The 9 puppies disappear into the loft. No one asks about them much. This is one of the most important moments in the book. Remember it. Molly is caught. A neighbor's horse confirms it. Sugar, ribbons, someone stroking her nose. Within days, Molly is gone. Winter. Mr. Jones and neighboring farmers decide to take the farm back. They arrive one morning with sticks, a gun, and confidence they'll regret. Snowball has read a book on Julius Caesar's campaigns. He has a battle plan. The Battle of the Couch begins. Snowball is wounded. 1 sheep is killed. A stable lad is knocked senseless by Boxer, who immediately panics that he has killed him. The men rout. They leave at speed. The animals have won. And Snowball, bleeding from the buckshot, takes a victory lap they'll talk about for years. 2 medals. Animal Hero First Class, for Snowball and Boxer both. They fire the recovered gun. Twice a year now it will be fired. And now, the windmill. Snowball unveils his plans on a Sunday. Electric light in the stalls, a 3-day work week. A revolution within the revolution. Napoleon walks up to the windmill plans, sniffs them, and urinates on them. That's his entire review. He says it will never work. The crucial Sunday meeting comes. Snowball speaks brilliantly. Even the skeptics are swaying. You can feel the vote about to go his way. Napoleon stands. He makes a strange noise, a high-pitched whimper no one has heard before. And 9 enormous dogs come bounding through the door. Snowball runs. The dogs chase him across the yard, snapping at his heels. He squeezes under the gate and is gone. Forever. The animals stand stunned. Napoleon takes the platform. There will be no more Sunday meetings. A committee of pigs will decide everything from now on. 4 pigs squeal in protest. The dogs growl. The pigs fall silent. And Boxer thinks Napoleon is always right. His second motto clicks into place. Squealer comes to explain it to the animals afterward. It was a sacrifice Napoleon made for their good. Surely they remembered how dangerous Snowball was. Surely, comrades, you do not want Jones to come back. The dogs shift. The animals find they actually agree with Squealer after all. Napoleon is always right. Boxer adds it to his mornings. He rises before anyone else, works later than anyone else, believes harder than anyone else. Then, one Sunday, Napoleon announces the windmill will be built. His idea all along, he says. The animals don't point out the obvious problem with this. Benjamin watches this. He watches everything. His expression does not change. He says, "Donkeys live a long time. None of you has ever seen a dead donkey." Spring. They begin hauling stone for the windmill. It is brutal work. The quarry, the slope, the weight. Boxer does the work of 3. The rations shrink. Squealer explains with figures, production up by 200% compared to the Jones era. No one can verify this. No one tries. Snowball starts to be rewritten. First, he wasn't as brave as remembered. Then he was working for Jones all along. Then he caused the storm. Hens are ordered to give up their eggs for trade. They rebel, smashing eggs rather than hand them over. Napoleon cuts their food ration entirely. 3 hens die, the first animals to die as a direct result of Napoleon's orders. The others are told it was from eating too little, which is true, technically. Beasts of England is banned. It expressed hopes for a better future. The future has arrived, Squealer says. There is nothing left to hope for. In its place, a new anthem. Written by Minimus the pig in praise of Napoleon. It rhymes, it is not very good. They sing it anyway. The Purges. Animals come forward confessing to crimes with Snowball. And then Napoleon's dogs kill them on the spot. Right there, in the yard. Clover looks at the pile of bodies around her. She thinks of old Major. She tries to remember the world they were building. She cannot quite find it. She hums Beasts of England. It is all she can do. She cannot write her grief down. She cannot speak it. So she hums. She cannot read the commandments herself to check them. She asks Benjamin. He says he can see no reason to read. He walks away. They ask Muriel the goat to read it instead. She reads the 5th commandment. It says no animal shall sleep in a bed with sheets. Did it always say that? They think they must have misremembered. Of course, it must have always said, with sheets. Memory is so unreliable, especially when someone keeps telling you it is. And just like that, the pattern is established. The commandments will keep changing. The animals will keep forgetting. Squealer will keep explaining. Winter again. The half-built windmill stands on the hill. Then one November night, a tremendous storm. By morning, the windmill is rubble. Napoleon tells them without hesitation. Snowball did this. He can smell Snowball's footprints. He pronounces a death sentence on Snowball, wherever he may be. They will rebuild it. Of course they will. Harder stone this time. Double walls. It will never fall again. And Boxer says, I will work harder. Something shifts in winter. The commandment's wall looks different to Clover one morning. The 6th commandment. She reads it with Muriel's help. No animal shall kill any other animal without cause. Without cause. 2 words, added at the bottom in slightly different paint. They think they misremembered. Napoleon has hired a human solicitor named Wemper to handle trade with the outside world. The outside world enters Animal Farm through this small door. Rumors spread that Animal Farm is starving. Napoleon has the animals perform prosperity they don't have. Full grain bins visible from the gate on inspection days. The pigs move into the farmhouse. They sleep in the beds. The 4th commandment has already been quietly adjusted to account for this. Deep in winter, the rebuilding continues. The animals work harder than they have ever worked. They are hungrier than they have ever been. Napoleon plays Frederick and Pilkington against each other for the timber price. It is the first time we see him clearly enjoying himself. Moses the Raven returns. He preaches Sugar Candy Mountain again, the paradise where animals go after death. The pigs tolerate him now. They even feed him. Boxer's barrel chest is beginning to hollow. His coat has lost its sheen. He tells Clover he'll work until the windmill is done, then retire to his pension. He has a plan for retirement. He will use the corner of the pasture that Clover likes. He will learn the rest of the alphabet. He is looking forward to it. Napoleon sells the timber to Frederick. Frederick pays in bank notes. Napoleon examines them and declares them genuine. He is very satisfied. 3 days later, the notes are forgeries. Frederick swindled Napoleon. Napoleon, who prides himself on never being swindled, has been swindled. Completely. Frederick arrives the next morning with 15 armed men. This time it is not sticks and whips. They have a real gun, and they know how to use it. The Battle of the Windmill. The animals fight back hard, but the gun speaks first. 3 animals are killed, nearly all are wounded. The windmill explodes. The animals stand in the rubble in shock and grief. Everything Boxer carried up that hill, stone by stone. Gone again. They charge. With nothing left to lose and everything gone already, the animals drive Frederick's men off the farm. A victory made of pure grief. Napoleon declares it a tremendous victory. Comrades, the enemy has been driven from our land. The flag is raised. The gun is fired. 5 times. They will rebuild. A 3rd time. The stone will be thicker now. 3 feet thick. Nothing will knock it down. And Boxer says his motto again. One night, Squealer is found in the dark near the commandment's wall, with a lantern and a paintbrush. He has slipped and injured himself. The paint pot is tipped. No one connects this to the commandments. Squealer explains he was checking the paint for weather damage. Of course. That makes sense. They go back to sleep. Spring-summer. The third windmill rising. Napoleon's ceremonies growing more elaborate. Portraits of him appear. Poems are written. A title is invented. Trade with humans is now routine. Animal farm sells eggs, timber, grain. The neighboring farmers have stopped trying to recapture it. They do business instead. The animals' rations shrink again. Squealer has statistics. Production is up. The animals are eating better than in Jones's time. The figures say so. Boxer works through a split hoof. He wraps it himself in the morning. He is at the windmill site before any other animal. He is always at the windmill site. The sheep have new instructions. Whenever anyone begins to raise a concern at meetings, which are rare now, the sheep begin to bleat, loudly, for minutes. Late summer. The third windmill is almost done. Boxer is thinner than he was. One afternoon in the field, hauling a load of stone, he stumbles. Clover is first to him. Then Benjamin, then the others. He is breathing hard. His lungs are failing. He tries to get up. He cannot. He says he will be all right in a few days. He'll rest. He'll be at the windmill on time. His voice is weak. His eyes are uncertain. Squealer visits. Napoleon is deeply upset, he says. Arrangements are being made. Boxer will be treated by the veterinarian in Willingdon. He will have the best care. Stay with this, because the next part is the one that lands differently every time you read it. Even if you know it's coming. A van arrives, a plain van. The animals watch it come up the track. And Benjamin, who never reads anything, goes very still and very close to the letters on its side. Benjamin reads it aloud. Alfred Simmons, horse slaughterer and glue boiler. He has never raised his voice before. He raises it now. Clover runs after the van. She cries out to Boxer through the small high window. He hears her. He looks out. His expression is confused. He tries the side of the van with his hooves. Once, twice. The van doesn't stop. It turns the bend. And Boxer is gone. He was 12 years old. 3 days later, Squealer tells them Boxer died in hospital. He was attended by Napoleon himself in his final hours. He died saying, "Napoleon is always right." Someone raises the van. The words on the side. Squealer has an answer. The veterinary surgeon recently purchased it. The old lettering hadn't been painted over yet. Benjamin says nothing. He knows. And now we know he knows. And we know he knew before the van arrived. And he said nothing. A banquet is held for the pigs. A crate of whiskey arrives at the farmhouse. The pigs have been at it all night. The singing goes until midnight. Years pass. The third windmill is complete. More are planned. The farm is prosperous. On paper, in Squealer's numbers, in Napoleon's announcements. But the animals are no better off than in Jones's time. They work as hard. They eat as little. They are as cold in winter. They think they're forgetting something. New animals are born who have known nothing else. The rebellion is history to them. Napoleon has always led. This has always been the way. Old animals try to explain to the young ones how it was, what it meant, but their own memories are uncertain now. Even they are not sure what they remember. Only Benjamin's memory is perfect. He remembers everything. He refuses to say whether things were better or worse than before. Things were, he says, as they are. One day the pigs are seen walking on their hind legs. Down the path, carrying whips, the sheep begin to bleat their new chant before anyone finds words. 4 legs good, 2 legs better. The sheep bleated over and over. No one had taught them this before today. And yet they know it perfectly. Clover goes to the commandment's wall. There is only one line now. Muriel reads it for her. One line where 7 used to be. All animals are equal, but some animals are more equal than others. She reads it, and somehow she accepts it, and goes back to work. Napoleon has invited the neighboring farmers to inspect Animal Farm. They arrive in suits. They are impressed. This is a well-run operation, they say. They end up in the farmhouse, at a table, with a deck of cards, and the other animals creep to the window to watch. Something is wrong with the faces. They watch the faces inside. Pig to man, man to pig. Already. And this is the last sentence of the book. It is impossible to say which is which. Let's walk back through it slowly now. Because the story moves fast, and the meaning deserves more time than the plot gives it. The story ends where it began. A farmhouse, men running the operation, animals doing the labor. The circle closed so quietly you almost miss it. Old Major dreamed of a world where animals were free. Instead, they got Napoleon. And the question Orwell is really asking is, was the outcome inevitable? The 7 Commandments. Let's read them as they were written, before Squealer touched them, when they still meant what they said. Whatever goes upon 2 legs is an enemy. Whatever goes upon 4 legs or has wings is a friend. No animal shall wear clothes. No animal shall sleep in a bed. No animal shall drink alcohol. No animal shall kill any other animal. All animals are equal. 7 promises all broken, not at once, slowly, in small steps. The small steps are the point. Not one big moment of obvious betrayal. Just a word added here. A phrase adjusted there. Each one almost nothing. Orwell understood something important. The most dangerous lies are the ones that feel like corrections to misremembering. Surely you just forgot the last 2 words. Boxer. Let's talk about Boxer one more time, because he is the most important character in this book, and the one we least want to look at directly. He is not stupid. Orwell is careful about this. He simply cannot read past the letter D. He gives everything he has. He trusts completely. These are not flaws. His tragedy is that his virtues are used against him. His strength is extracted. His loyalty is exploited. His trust is the knife that opens the wound. There is a specific cruelty in sending the best of them to the slaughterhouse. Not the rebels, not the skeptics. The most loyal, the hardest working. Him. Squealer's role. We should be clear about what Squealer actually is. He is not the villain. He is the villain's voice. And that is a different kind of evil. He does 3 things. He manipulates memory, he weaponizes fear, and he offers false comfort. These are the 3 tools of propaganda. They work every time. Surely you don't want Jones to come back. Every time, like a key turning a lock. The fear of the old evil keeping them from seeing the new one. The dogs, 9 of them, raised from puppies in secret, fed better than the other animals, trained for one purpose. Napoleon never has to threaten, they do it for him. The puppies are the most chilling detail in the book, because Napoleon doesn't create them. He just raises them that way. The system produces what the system needs. Moses the Raven is one of Orwell's sharpest details. The pigs first drive him away, then bring him back. Because Sugar Candy Mountain is useful when the food runs out. The sheep, they are not villains either. They are us on a bad day, when we're tired and scared and someone tells us what to chant. And we chant it. Now, Benjamin. Because Benjamin is the most complicated figure in a book of simple figures. He is the intellectual who sees everything and saves no one. He knows from the start. He knew Snowball's expulsion was wrong. He knew the commandments were being changed. He knew what the van was. And he waited. What was he waiting for? Orwell doesn't say. Maybe for a moment that never came. Maybe he believed the worst was already known, and saying it changed nothing. Orwell once said Benjamin was the character he most closely identified with. The person who sees clearly and does too little. That confession matters. Clover is the moral heart of the book. She never has a single dramatic moment. She just witnesses. She grieves. She keeps going. That quiet endurance is the book's real heroism. The windmill. It is the most durable symbol in the book. It is hope made physical, labor made visible. And it is built and destroyed and built and destroyed again. What was the windmill actually for? Orwell is careful. Snowball meant electricity for the stalls. Napoleon never mentions this once he takes over. It becomes a monument. The windmill also keeps them busy. Animals who are exhausted from building a windmill do not organize, do not think, do not remember. That might be the whole point. The farm's name goes back to Manor Farm at the end. This detail is easy to miss. Animal Farm, the name of their freedom, erased in a sentence by Napoleon himself. All animals are equal, but some animals are more equal than others. This sentence. Let it sit for a moment. It is one of the most perfectly constructed sentences in English literature. More equal than others. Those 4 words contain an entire political system. Every hierarchy that calls itself a meritocracy. Every equality that has exceptions built in from the start. Why didn't they just fight back? This is the question the book provokes. And it answers it carefully, without cruelty to the animals who didn't. They didn't fight back because they were afraid. Because they couldn't organize. Because every leader they trusted used that trust against them. This is not their failure, it is their tragedy. Memory is the real battlefield in this book. Napoleon controls the past. And if you control the past, Orwell says, you control everything else without even trying. 4 will say it more bluntly. Who controls the past controls the future. But Animal Farm shows it. You watch it happen to animals you care about. The tension graph of the book is almost mathematical. Each comfort the animals are offered costs them exactly 1 freedom. The exchange rate never varies. Fired twice a year in celebration. When you think about it. And Orwell means for you to think about it. Whose victory is it actually celebrating? Snowball's final status. We never find out what happened to him. Orwell never tells us. He runs under the gate and off the page, into silence. And that ambiguity is exactly right, because Napoleon's version of Snowball is more useful than any real snowball could ever be. The invented traitor is always worse than the actual one. The book asks, when did it go wrong? Was it when Napoleon took the milk? When he took the puppies? When he expelled Snowball? Or did it go wrong when the pigs started writing the commandments? When they put themselves in charge of the philosophy, they put themselves above it. That was the first step. Orwell's answer, I think, is it went wrong at the beginning. Not because revolution is impossible, but because power without accountability always tends the same direction. And yet the dream was real. Old Major's vision was real. The animals' joy on that first morning was real. Orwell doesn't want us to doubt that. The book is not cynical. It is heartbroken. There is a difference. Cynicism says the dream was always foolish. Heartbreak says the dream was real and something took it. Orwell wanted to write something that would work in any language, in any country, against any version of the same pattern. He succeeded completely. The fable form, talking animals, simple language, short chapters, allows us to see the mechanics of oppression without the fog of historical detail. That clarity is the gift. And the pattern is this: a genuine grievance, a genuine revolution, leaders who begin by serving the movement, and then realize the movement serves them better. What makes Orwell's warning so durable is that it's not about the villain. Napoleon is almost incidental. The real subject is the conditions that produce him and keep him. The book ends at a window, the animals looking in, and that window is exactly where the reader is, outside, watching, unable to enter and change what's happening. That window is the most carefully placed image in the book. You are meant to stand there. You are meant to feel what they feel. The glass between you and the power you cannot stop. Orwell says, I am giving you the pattern, not so you despair, so you recognize it. Recognition is the only tool that works before the window closes. And now, some time. We've been in the story. Let's step out of it for a while. Into the world that made it, and the man who wrote it. George Orwell. The name is a pseudonym. His real name was Eric Arthur Blair. He chose Orwell, from the River Orwell in Suffolk, George, because it's a good English name. He was born in 1903 in British India. His father worked in the opium department of the Indian Civil Service. His mother was from a family in Burma. He grew up between worlds. He won a scholarship to Eton, but he didn't go to university after. He joined the Imperial Police in Burma instead. He wanted to see the empire from the inside. In Burma, he learned something that never left him. He was on the wrong side. He held the whip, and he felt it. And it changed everything he would ever write. Burma broke something open in Eric Blair. He quit the police. He went to Paris. He washed dishes in restaurant kitchens. He slept in boarding houses. He started writing. Down and Out in Paris and London. His first book, published in 1933, about poverty, about what it feels like to be invisible. The pen name used for the first time. The road to Wigan Pier followed. He went north to document the lives of English miners. Then came Spain. And Spain was where everything crystallized. He went to Spain in 1936 to fight against Franco's fascists. He joined a militia. He fought in the trenches. He was shot through the throat by a sniper. He survived the bullet. But then he watched something worse. The Stalinist faction turned on the independent left in Barcelona, arrested them, disappeared them, from inside the revolution. He came home. He wrote homage to Catalonia. Nobody wanted to read it. The left didn't want to believe what he'd seen. The right didn't care. Spain taught him what Animal Farm would show, that totalitarianism from the left works the same way as totalitarianism from the right. The enemy is the system, not the flag. Orwell worked at the BBC making propaganda he half believed in. He hated it. He quit in 1943. Then he had an idea. He saw a boy whipping a large cart horse. And he thought if that horse knew its own strength, no boy could control it. And then he thought, this is a book. He spent 6 months thinking about it. Then 3 months writing it, November 1943 to February 1944, 112 pages, the whole thing. Then he sent it out, and the rejection letters came. Not because it was bad, because it was true. And the truth was politically inconvenient in 1944. Victor Gollancz refused it. He was a committed socialist and didn't want to publish something that might damage the alliance with the Soviet Union. He was also Orwell's regular publisher. Jonathan Cape's reader rejected it after what appeared to be a consultation with the Ministry of Information. A civil servant had opinions about a fable about pigs. T.S. Eliot at Faber and Faber refused it. He wrote that he had no conviction this was the right point of view. He thought the pigs ought to be represented by public, spirited pigs. Orwell nearly self-published it. Then Secker and Warburg said yes. They published it in August 1945. With a print run of 4,500 copies, they sold out immediately. The timing was extraordinary. The book arrived just as World War II ended. Just as the alliance with the Soviet Union was giving way to something colder, the world was ready. The Soviet Union's reaction was fury. Soviet critics called it slander. It was banned across the Eastern Bloc for decades. Which told you something important. Meanwhile, in America, it became a sensation. The CIA later acknowledged secretly funding an animated film adaptation. A children's fable had become a Cold War weapon. The 1954 animated film changed the ending. In Orwell's version, nothing changes, the circle closes. In the film, the other animals rebel against the pigs, hope restored. They needed a hopeful ending because the CIA was using it as anti-Soviet propaganda. Hope that resistance works. Which is exactly what Orwell chose not to promise. This strange history, banned by the left, weaponized by the right, tells you something. A book this inconvenient to everyone is probably telling the truth. Orwell had one more book in him. He was already ill when Animal Farm came out. Tuberculosis. He went to the island of Jura in Scotland to write it anyway. 1984, published 1949, written while he was dying. It says everything Animal Farm implies but leaves unstated. In language that no longer needs to be gentle. George Orwell died on the 21st of January 1950. He was 46 years old. He had been married again only months before. He never got to be well. He was 46. He had written 6 novels, 3 books of reportage, and several hundred essays. And he changed how the English language thinks about power. That's not nothing. What he didn't live to see Animal Farm translated into 70 languages. Assigned in schools on every continent. Recognized as one of the 100 best novels in English. He also didn't live to see his name become an adjective. Orwellian. It means the deliberate use of language to obscure the truth. He would have found the irony satisfying. Orwell left 6 rules for writing. Simple, devastating. Never use a long word where a short one will do. Never use the passive where you can use the active. Animal Farm follows every one of those rules. It uses simple words. It tells you what happens. It never hides behind abstraction. The clarity is the argument. There is something else Orwell said about why he wrote Animal Farm. Something that matters. He said, "Every line I have written since 1936 has been against totalitarianism, not against socialism." He was clear about this. Against the perversion of it. Against the system that uses the language of liberation to build new cages. The book is, at its heart, a love letter to the dream, and a warning about the dreamers who betray it. Those two things held together without resolving. That's the H of it. And yet the book was written. Which means Orwell believed something could be done with clear sight. Even if the book doesn't end with hope, the act of writing it is hope. Benjamin could have read the commandments aloud every time one was changed. He chose not to. Writing Animal Farm was Orwell choosing differently, in the only way available to him. Tonight, resting here, you've held the whole story. The dream, the rebellion, the corruption, the warning, the man who wrote it, the world that received it. What do you carry out of this story? Not despair. Orwell wasn't interested in despair. He was interested in clear sight. Clear sight is what you carry. Beasts of England. Let it play once more in your mind, not as a revolutionary anthem, just as a song, the dream of something fair sung in the dark. The story that goes wrong isn't the end of the story. Old Major's dream is still available. It wasn't wrong to want it. It was wrong to stop protecting it. This is what a good book does. It tells you the hard true thing, and then it puts you back in the world with something you didn't have before, a name for what you already knew. Animal Farm gave generations of readers a name for the pattern, not a solution, a name. And naming things is always the first step toward not being destroyed by them. And tonight, with this story in you, with Boxer's face at the window and Clover on the knoll and Old Major's dream still humming somewhere, you can rest now. Let it settle. The farm is quiet now, the barn is dark. The windmill stands on the hill. The gate is closed. Everything is still. You can let the story rest. In the next section, we'll go deeper into the historical world that made this story, into the real events behind each animal, each scene, each altered commandment. The Russian Revolution of 1917, the rise of Stalin, the show trials, the purges. Orwell mapped it all with perfect precision onto a farm in England. Let's look at how. Old Major is Karl Marx. He provides the intellectual framework. He dies before the revolution he inspired. He never has to see what happens to his ideas. Snowball is Trotsky, brilliant, energetic, the hero of the revolution's military phase, then exiled, then rewritten as a traitor. Never stopped being right, but it didn't help. Napoleon is Stalin, patient, ruthless, willing to wait. He doesn't win through argument. He wins through control of the structures. The dogs, the committee, the food supply. The windmill is Soviet industrialization. The 5-year plans, the collectivization. Build the factory, build the dam. Meanwhile, the workers starve. The statistics say otherwise. The purge scene. Animals confessing to crimes with Snowball and being executed. Is drawn directly from Stalin's show trials. The precise psychological mechanism confessions that everyone knows are false, and no one says so. Boxer's motto, "I will work harder," maps precisely onto the Stakhanovite movement in the Soviet Union. Workers celebrated for exceeding production targets, consuming themselves for the state. Every element maps. The dogs are the NKVD. Moses the Raven is the Russian Orthodox Church, tolerated because it keeps the workers hopeful. The sheep are the compliant masses. Orwell mapped it all. And then he mapped it onto animals and a farm. Because you can see it more clearly that way. Distance is what allows pattern recognition. But, and this matters, Animal Farm was not just about Russia. Orwell was clear the pattern applies wherever power operates without accountability. Anytime. The book ends. The story is complete. And now we move into the life the book has had since then. Its strange, enormous, complicated afterlife in the world. Tonight, resting in the dark, the story is done. The farm is quiet. Let the hard parts settle. Let what stays stay. You'll find it there in the morning. Let's go deeper into the world that made this book. Because Animal Farm didn't arrive from nowhere. It arrived from a very specific place, in a very specific hour. Russia, February 1917. The Tsar has fallen. For a few months, something extraordinary happens. A genuine democratic revolution. Workers' councils, free press, open elections planned. Old majors meeting in the barn is this moment. The thing that was genuinely happening. The dream that was briefly actually real. Before October came. October 1917, Lenin returns from exile. The Bolsheviks take power. This is the rebellion, quick, almost bloodless, and exhilarating. At first, Lenin consolidates power. The old structures are dismantled, new laws written. The pigs drafting the 7 Commandments maps this exactly. The founding document of the new order. Lenin dies in 1924. Now the succession struggle begins. Trotsky on one side, brilliant, popular, the hero of the Civil War. Stalin on the other, quiet, organizational, patient. Stalin built his power through the party apparatus. He controlled appointments. Who got which job? Who owed him what? The puppies in the loft are exactly this. Trotsky was expelled in 1927. He went into exile, Mexico eventually. He was assassinated there in 1940 with an ice pick. While Orwell was already thinking about Animal Farm. In exile, Trotsky kept writing. He kept arguing that Stalin had betrayed the revolution. Napoleon blamed Snowball for everything. Stalin blamed Trotsky for everything. The pattern is exact. Stalin's show trials 1936 to 1938. Old Bolsheviks who had fought the revolution confessing to impossible crimes. In open court, in front of Western observers. Why did they confess to crimes they didn't commit? Historians still debate this. Fear, torture, ideological discipline. The belief that the party must be right even when they knew it wasn't. The Great Purge killed between 750,000 and 1.2 million people between 1936 and 1938. The windmill rubble has bodies under it. Orwell knew this. He wanted you to know it too. Collectivization. Stalin forced Soviet peasants onto collective farms in the late 1920s and early 1930s. Millions died in the famine that followed. The windmill is this. The cult of personality. Stalin's portrait everywhere. His name attached to cities, factories, military units. Napoleon's portrait on the barn wall. The poems, the gun salutes identical. And the propaganda. Squealer is Pravda, the Soviet state newspaper. The statistics that mean nothing, compared to nothing, verified by no one. The language that rewrites events as they happen. Orwell watched all of this from London. He read the reports from Spain. He read what the fellow travelers refused to believe. He believed it. It infuriated him. The fellow travelers. This is a phrase from that era. Intellectuals in the West who supported the Soviet Union without living under it. Who explained away the reports? Who accused the reporters? Orwell's great frustration was with the left that defended Stalin, not the right. The right was predictable. The left's complicity felt like a betrayal of what the left was for. This is why the rejection letters matter so much. Gollancz, Cape Elliot. They were the fellow travelers in publishing form. The book's journey to print is the story of institutional cowardice. Wartime Britain had an official relationship with the Soviet Union. Churchill and Stalin were allies. Publishing a fable about how Stalin operated felt, to some, like bad form. Secker and Warburg said yes. The book came out in August 1945. Within weeks of Hiroshima, within days of Japan's surrender, the world was reorganizing everything. The Cold War settled in. The Western world was looking for a way to think about the Soviet Union. Animal Farm gave them the clearest frame anyone had yet made. The book was translated fast. Ukrainian edition in 1947. For Ukrainian displaced persons in Germany who had lived under both Hitler and Stalin. They understood immediately. Soviet agents destroyed as many copies of the Ukrainian edition as they could find. Which tells you how precisely it had hit its target. Meanwhile, the CIA was quietly buying up rights and funding translations. They understood the book as a weapon, which was exactly what Orwell didn't intend it to be. The 1954 animated film, made by the British studio Hallis and Batchelor, with CIA money funneled through a front organization. The first British animated feature film, Strange Origins. The film is actually good. The animation is expressive. Boxer is heartbreaking. But the ending, the other animals rebelling against the pigs, is the opposite of Orwell's point. Orwell's widow, Sonia, sold the film rights not knowing about the CIA connection. She deeply regretted it later. One more person who didn't know what was in the van until it was moving. Countries where Animal Farm has been banned over the years include the Soviet Union, China, Cuba, North Korea, Kenya, and the United Arab Emirates, a remarkable list. Kenya banned it in the 1990s because it was seen as too critical of the government at the time. Which tells you the allegory works for more than just Russia. Orwell wrote about colonialism in Burma. Chinua Achebe and post-colonial writers recognized Animal Farm immediately. The liberation movement that becomes the new oppression. The pattern holds. Orwell's wife. She died in March 1945 during surgery while he was still in Europe as a war correspondent. The book came out that August. She never saw it published. Orwell's tuberculosis had been serious since the 1930s. He knew he was ill while writing Animal Farm. He knew he was sicker while writing 1984. He wrote anyway. There is something almost unbearable about the facts of his last years. He was right about everything he warned against. He was dying. He kept writing. He finished both books. He was 46 years old. He had the physical body of a man considerably older. The tuberculosis had been doing its work for years. He chose the island anyway. His politics. He called himself a democratic socialist. He believed in ordinary decency. He distrusted all concentrated power. He distrusted intellectuals who loved power from a comfortable distance. He liked fishing. He liked growing vegetables. He liked tea and English mustard and good bread. He was suspicious of anyone who didn't like the things ordinary people liked. His essay, Politics and the English Language, remains one of the best things ever written about how language is used to control thought. It applies to squealer on every page. If people cannot write well, they cannot think well. And if they cannot think well, others will do their thinking for them. He said something like this. He was right. Orwell's Wallington Cottage. He kept a goat named Muriel, and a hen, the real Muriel reading real things, was there when he was writing the book in which she appears. That detail, the real Muriel, is very Orwell. He wrote about real things. He did not invent distance from life. He found the universal in the precise and specific. The last thing we should understand about the historical context is this: Orwell was not pessimistic. He was surgical. There is a difference between pessimism and precision. He named the pattern clearly so others could see it. He used a form that any literate person could hold. He made the argument elegant enough to survive translation. That is precision. The historical context is enormous. But the book is small, and that is the whole point. The big thing made small enough to hold. The truth made portable. That's the gift. We've been deep in the world now. In the history, the politics, the biography. Let's come back to the farm one more time. The evening light on the old barn, the animals settling. This is the world the book lives in tonight. The farm, the animals, the dream that was real, and the pattern that betrayed it. All of it visible now, all of it named. Knowing all this, the history, the biography, the Cold War's strange second life, does it change how you feel about the story? It should make it heavier and more necessary. And knowing all this, does the ending still land? The circle closing, pig into man, name back to Manor Farm.
Yes.
Because Orwell was right. The pattern holds, it keeps holding. The farm is quiet in the historical dark. The windmill turns. The barn stands. The gate is closed. The story has been told. The context has been given. Now rest. Every line I have written since 1936 has been against totalitarianism and for democratic socialism, as I understand it, George Orwell. He understood it as decency, simple, durable human decency. From 1945 to now, the book has never gone out of print. It has sold more than 30 million copies, in 70 languages, from a 4,000-copy first print run. The Modern Library ranked it 31st on its list of the best 100 English language novels. Time magazine included it in its 100 best school curricula on every continent. Why does it work so well as a school text? Because it's short, because it's clear, and because the question it poses, how does this happen, is the question every generation needs to sit with. Orwellian. It entered the language. It describes the use of official language to say the opposite of what is meant. Newspeak. Doublethink. These are his coinages, we live in them. Some are more equal than others. This phrase has entered daily journalism, political commentary, business writing, anywhere someone wants to name a gap between stated principle and actual practice. 4 legs good, 2 legs bad. This to escape the farm. It describes the reduction of complex reality to a slogan. Any slogan. The mechanism more than the content. The book influenced every major dystopian writer who came after Orwell. Aldous Huxley's Brave New World had come before. The conversation between the two books is the map of dystopia. Margaret Atwood wrote The Handmaid's Tale in 1985. She said she used only events that had already happened somewhere in history. That's exactly Orwell's method. He learned it from Spain. Kazuo Ishiguro's Never Let Me Go. Ray Bradbury's Fahrenheit 451. Yevgeny Zamyatin's We, which Orwell read and recommended. The lineage is long. The farm is where it crystallized. The 1999 Lev action film with Patrick Stewart voicing Napoleon, solid, worth watching. But something about animation, or the book itself, captures the fable better than any film. Theatrical adaptations are interesting. The challenge of animal bodies on stage forces specific choices. Do you use masks, costumes, puppetry? The form itself makes the allegory visible. The book has been used in ways Orwell wouldn't have recognized, and some he would have hated. Political groups of every stripe have claimed the Napoleon or snowball label for their enemies. The problem with the Napoleon snowball framework is that everyone thinks they're snowball. The mechanism of the book describes how Napoleon convinces everyone of this. It's self-sealing. The book is most useful not as a label maker but as a lens. Not who is Napoleon, but where is the milk going? Who holds the brush? What have you been told to forget? Where is the milk going? This is the most useful question the book teaches. Follow the thing that was promised. See where it actually went. The answer is usually not complicated. The reading experience. This is a book that changes completely on second reading. On first you don't know. On second you see it all there from the start. Always waiting. On the second reading, Boxer breaks your heart differently. The first time you're surprised. The second time you watch it coming and can't stop it. That's the book's cruelest gift. What children take from it, and what adults take from it. These are different readings of the same book. Children often see the betrayal most clearly. Adults see Benjamin most clearly. The argument about whether Animal Farm is too simple, whether it reduces complex history to cartoon. Orwell's answer would be that's what fables do. Simplicity is not the same as falseness. The legacy of the fable form. Aesop wrote talking animals 2,000 years ago. La Fontaine. Kipling's Jungle Book. The tradition is ancient. Orwell made it political in a new way. What Orwell added to the fable tradition: historical specificity. His animals aren't just moral types. They're historical actors in a specific sequence of events. That combination is new. Animal Farm and the Internet Age. The book's phrases circulate as memes. Some people quote it who've never read it. This would probably not have surprised Orwell. There is a real risk that familiarity defangs the book. That all animals are equal but some are more equal becomes a punchline. That Napoleon becomes a meme. Orwell would be furious. The way to keep it from becoming a meme is to read it. Actually read it. All 112 pages. Let Boxer's face at the window do what it does, let it land. The Orwell Society keeps his legacy active, his cottage in Hertfordshire, his papers, his letters. The careful preservation of a writer who wanted plain language and got a complicated afterlife. He is buried under his real name, Eric Arthur Blair, not George Orwell. He specifically requested this. Even in death, he kept the two identities separate, the private man and the public voice. What would Orwell make of the present? He was asked this kind of question in his lifetime, and always answered the same way. Look at who controls the language. That's where the power is. The comfort of dystopia. It sounds like a contradiction, but there is real comfort in a book that names the darkness accurately. You are not imagining it. Here is its shape. Here is its name. This is why you can read Animal Farm at night and still sleep. Because the naming is a kind of light. Even in a dark room. A named thing is less terrifying than an unnamed one. The dream at the beginning. The song in the barn. That note is still in the air. The fable ends in darkness, but the song was real. It was sung once. That matters. Animal Farm is 80 years old now. It shows no signs of aging, which is either heartening or discouraging, depending on why it still applies. Probably both. What Orwell wanted for this book, that it would make political writing an art. That the truth would be told clearly enough that people could see it. He got what he wanted. And the book asks something of you in return. Not action necessarily. Not despair, just don't forget. Don't let the commandments change without noticing. Don't be the sheep. Be more like Clover than Benjamin. Benjamin sees and stays silent. Clover sees and remembers and doesn't stop going back to look. That difference matters. Orwell knew it. Orwell's gift, finally, is this: he gave us a story simple enough to remember and precise enough to use. Whenever we need it, for the rest of our lives. Tonight, that story is in you. It will be there in the morning, and the morning after that. That's what a good book does. It becomes part of how you see. In the next section, we'll bring it home. Gently. The farm at night. The animals in their stalls. A last walk through the book before sleep takes you. The story is complete. The legacy is clear. The warning is delivered. And you have been here for all of it. That means something. It always does. Orwell wrote to be read. Simply, clearly, honestly. He is still being read. 80 years on, in 70 languages. In 100 countries. In countless bedrooms at night. That's what this was. A book that deserves to be read in the dark, quietly, by a person settling towards sleep. George Orwell wrote it for exactly this kind of night. Let's go back to the farm one last time. Not to the farmhouse window. Not to the van. Back to the beginning. The barn at night. Old Major's straw. Old Major dreamed of something fair. Of fields that belonged to those who worked them. Of no whips, no slaughter. No hunger on behalf of someone else's comfort. That dream was worth having. Even though it was taken. Even though the book ends where it begins. The dream itself was not the problem. The dream was right. Boxer in the gray morning. Before anyone else is awake. In the field before dawn. The white blaze on his face in the half-light. That image. Hold it. Clover on the knoll. The view she had. Every time she went there to hold what she couldn't quite say. The farm below. The thing she wanted back. Benjamin, at his fence. He always knew. He was always right. And the cost of being right and doing nothing is exactly what the book wants you to feel. Feel it. The 7 commandments in their first form. 7 clean lines. 7 promises. All of them real when they were written. All of them meant. Before the brush came out at night. The first harvest morning. Remember it. The animals working for themselves and discovering the work felt different. Lighter. More theirs. That moment was real. Orwell doesn't take it back. There is something Orwell loves in these animals. Even as he shows us what happens to them. His tenderness is real. The book would be nothing without it. He kept real animals. He loved his goat. He grew vegetables. He fished. The man who wrote this book also lived in it, in the small, ordinary ways. That grounded everything. The farm is very quiet now. The day's work is done. The animals are in their stalls. The barn door is closed against the night. Everything settles. The windmill stands on the hill. The gate is latched. The farmhouse has a light in the window. The pasture is silver with moonlight. It is enough for now. The story has been told. The dream was real. The warning is heard. And the song, just hum it to yourself if you know it now. The dream of something fair. Breathing slower now. The voice can slow with you. There's no rush. The farm isn't going anywhere. The story is complete. Let your body settle into where you are. The animals in their stalls, each one resting. Boxer's great sides rising and falling. Clover nearby warm and close. Benjamin at the far end, his eyes finally closed. Benjamin's eyes close last. They always do. He watches until the very end. But even the oldest, most watchful animal in the world must sleep eventually, even Benjamin. The barn is warm with the warmth of animal bodies. That specific warmth. The smell of straw and horse and the closeness of living things. Safe in the dark. Above the barn, the stars. The same stars that have been over every farm in every country where this story was recognized. They don't move. They just stay. The windmill turns slowly in the night wind. Just the creak of it. The sound of something built, something that works, turning in the dark. Let that be the sound. Clover's dream somewhere inside her sleep. The farm as it should be. The fields belonging to those who work them. Old Major's voice still. The song still. The night is very quiet now. Whatever you were carrying into tonight, you can set it down. Just for these few minutes. The farm has taken it in. The story of Animal Farm. It lives in the barn now, in the straw. In the old wall where the words were written and changed, and finally reduced to one true line. 4 words. All animals are equal, just those 4, before the rest was added. Before the brush came out. 4 words that were worth wanting to be true. You can let the harder parts of the story go for tonight. The van. The farmhouse window. The brush on the wall at midnight. Let them rest. They'll be there. Keep the good things. Boxer's white blaze. Clover on the knoll. Old Major's voice in the barn. The first morning after the rebellion. The song before it was banned. The farm is breathing. The animals are breathing. The windmill is turning. The night is doing what nights do. Moving slowly toward morning. Carrying you gently forward. You have been here for 60 minutes. With the animals. With Orwell. With the dream, the warning, the history, the legacy. You stayed. Well done for staying. The animals are deeply asleep now. Boxer breathing slow and enormous. Clover close. Benjamin still. The barn warm. The night holding everything gently. Let it hold you too. Sleep is close now. Let it come. The story will keep. Orwell's words will be there in the morning, exactly where you left them. Books always wait. The farm road is empty. The gate is latched. The night is deep and without weather. Everything is where it should be. You are where you should be. Old Major had a dream. It was worth dreaming. You have heard it. Whatever you do with it is yours. No one can take that from you. The hearing is enough. The windmill turns. The stars stay. The farm breathes. Boxer's white blaze in the dark. Clover on the knoll in your mind. The night is doing its good work. It's all right to let go now. The story is yours. The warning is heard. The dream is known. Tonight, that's enough. More than enough. Let the rest of it wait. Good night. The farm is at peace. The animals are warm. Old Major's dream is still somewhere in the air. George Orwell wrote it down so you would know. Now you know. Sleep well. You were here. That's enough. The story will wait for you. Orwell's farm will wait. The gate is always open when you need to come back.